Welcome back to the show, Kimberly, Whitt. How can we help you today? Assignment
Episode
5.
2.
You don't have the equal time requirement. So it could be all solo, it could be all interview, as long as it meets all of these other requirements, because there's a lot of other requirements on this one compared to the other one.
This is for Module 5, Episode 2. But we have to have images or B-rolls in there, at least 3 to 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 3 to 5 images or 3 to 5 videos. And remember, the videos aren't going to have audio. They're just B-roll.
Yeah, for like you're talking in the background over them explaining whatever it is.
Exactly.
So it is okay, because if we're for sure what we want to do for our next episode, that we could have like a generic stay tuned.
If you wanted to make that more generic, like join us next time for more insights from experts and you know, authors on communication at work. For me, that's what I'd say. I'd say something like,
So we are going to go to audio only and no video?
no, we always want video because YouTube analytics beats any kind of podcasting platform with their analytics. So we always want some form of video. For this class, it's all video. Now, for your podcast, yes, you won't have any chance to do video because most podcasting platforms are audio only, and they only accept MP3s, as you saw in the textbook. The title of it is a video with audio emphasis, so that's clear. Because we're being great on the audio, so the video doesn't matter as much. In this one, it's all about video skills. And the next one, it's all about audio skills.
For the B-rolls, obviously, those can be like templates and stuff we find
that are copyright cleared. Like, for example, with Adobe Express, you can use that stuff because UTSA has paid for you to become a premium member. So those little crown icons, you have access to that where you wouldn't in your own private account. Yeah. There's another website called Pexels, Pexels, where they have free B-roll. And there's other ones out there. You just got to make sure you read the terms and conditions. A search for copyright free or royalty free should give you some options. So this is Pexels. Nice. That's a good shot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Oh,
that's what we need. That's what we needed. And you kind of like, you could have a split screen with this 16 by 9 and your face on the other side, right? Yeah, Pexels.
I know.
Adobe Podcast is not like where you should be editing, right? That's just for smaller clips. Because it's not meant for video, it's meant for audio. Adobe Premiere Pro is where you should be transcribing, because that's meant for that. Adobe Podcast is great for transcription that doesn't have video, because it's an audio platform that does video side, because it's only limited to like a gig, right? Take the MP4, put it into Adobe Premiere Pro, and you have a transcript feature that's going to produce the transcript. And the other cool thing about Adobe Premiere Pro is you can actually edit that transcript the same way you do in Adobe Podcast.
The individuals talking. So like me versus my interview.
Okay. So there's a button.
Is there a way you, yes, there is.
Yeah, there's a button. You see that? Okay. So under import settings, whenever you're importing something, it says automatic transition. You have to click that little button to turn it on. And then you'll see, it says enable language auto detection. And it says speaker labeling. Yes, separate the speakers. And whenever you click that little toggle button, it'll give you that option. And then your speakers are separated. For your transcript, for this class, you have to submit the video. So that's why we use YouTube, because YouTube is a video first platform. And again, the analytics on YouTube are so much better than what you would get if you used a podcasting analytics. So every social media wants you to upload the video that you've edited in Adobe Premiere Pro or whatever software you're using and upload that straight to their platform. So no, you can create that kind of format from your original video. Adobe Premiere Pro will do an auto reframe where it takes your original landscape format and it can change it into 9:16 and it'll automatically reframe you in the center of, and the action or the motion in the center, which is nice. Okay. So leading clip services, Short AI, Opus Clip, Clap, Flowgen, Vizard, LiveLink. We've even got Adobe Express Clip Maker, which actually should be built in. So yeah. Canva Shorts Converter, same as Adobe Express. Those are the competitors, right? VIO, Spike Studio, VMaker, and here's the breakdown. Short AI and Opus Clip look like they have scheduling, which is nice. Opus, they have 60 credits free. Clap, Vizard, free 60 minutes. That would be more than enough for a class. Advanced Voices, we got Short, Clap. ElevenLabs is better voices than a lot of other AI. I would definitely, not pay money. That's my goal. The reason we have a free textbook, we don't want people spending money on this thing. In some cases, depending on your goals, it might be worth it, but not for this class. in Adobe Premiere Pro. First thing I'm going to show you, because I have it open and because I don't use this that often, you're going to go to Window and you're going to go to Effects. Imagine there's a word called Window on the top of Adobe Premiere Pro. And if you click that word Window, you're going to find something called Effects. And this is what will pop up under Effects. And in order to find what's called the Morph tool, you're going to want to click on the word Video Transitions and then the word Dissolve. And underneath it, and of course, you can find this through a simple search later if you need to. It's called the Morph tool in Adobe Premiere Pro. And what's really cool about this is this takes any kind of cut and it will morph the previous frame and the next frame so that it's not quite as an abrupt jump cut. This is one of the tools I use least often because jump cuts to me are a natural part of the editing process and a natural part of the social media landscape and the language that we use. But in some cases, that jump cut may be too abrupt or it might distract from the story you want to tell. So what it's doing is it's sampling frames before and it's sampling frames after, and it's creating a more smooth dissolve between where the speaker is in this point and where the speaker is at that point. So if they're mid-sentence and you cut out a vocal disfluency, for example, let's say you cut out the word or you cut out something that you didn't want in your video. It's going to take the first part of that, end of that clip, and then the first part of the second clip, and it's going to morph those together the same way you would use a dissolve feature in Adobe Premiere Pro. So again, that's underneath Window and then Effects. Next thing I want to talk about is this right here, the Remix tool. This is what the slide said. Let's talk about the Remix tool. The way to access this is in this panel right here that you'll see right underneath the arrow. It says Remix tool whenever you're on there, but you may not see that because you have to hold down this Ripple Edit tool to be able to reveal it. So if you hold down the Ripple Edit tool, you'll see the Remix tool down here at the bottom. Again, it's a relatively new feature, but it's one of the reasons people want to use Adobe Premiere Pro for their editing, because this Remix tool takes a sample of this audio. Let me just extend it there, and it sends it and it actually duplicates it. If we zoom in, you see that little squiggly line there? What it's done is it sampled the things before and after so that it can remix and create more of your audio. So let's say you have some music that you're using for your background music and you want it to continue, but oh no, my clip is too short. Well, instead of having to go to another program, you can use that Remix tool to extend the audio right here at the, if you listen, you'll see what happens at this little mark. It's blended that instead of that being an abrupt cut. We just got some music going here, and that's where it would naturally end. And as you can see, the generative AI audio remix tool has extended that. You got it. It's duplicating, but what's great about this is it's taking a sample of that music and it's creating new music that's going to sound and match your previous music. And in my experience, it's been super smooth. I've worked on other projects where I've used it, and it's super smooth the way that it extends because it's seamless, especially if you have a song seed or a kernel that you really like and you want it longer. This is a wonderful tool for that. So it's taking a sample of the background sound music and extending my voice there too. If I needed that for some reason to create some B-roll here, I could do that too. Okay, so again, this tool automatically shortens or extends music to perfectly fit your video. No awkward cuts or transitions, just drag your audio clip, and Premiere Pro does the hard work of that extension. The next thing, which is very similar, but for video, is this button right here. It's the new Generative Extend tool. And what this is doing is it's taking the exact same approach that it just showed you with the audio, but it's doing it for video. Description of it, it generates extensions of 2 seconds for video, 10 seconds for audio, or 2 seconds for both video and audio. And this is not just something that can be done at the end of a clip here. This can be done to extend the beginning of a clip. So for example, let's say that you're in an interview. I know we have a person in the audience who is doing interviewing, and I do interviewing too, so I get that. Let's say that the person looked away from camera or looked directly at the camera or did something unnatural. You can take this tool, use that AI extend feature, and delete, and basically you can delete that part where they looked unnatural during their interview so that that person now isn't looking at the camera. Whatever it is that you don't want, you can get rid of that with this generative AI feature, which is really cool. But right now, again, it's limited to just about 2 seconds of the beginning of the clip or at the end of the clip. And that's the Generative Extend tool. The next one I want to show you is this. Let me go back to my select tool right here, the selection tool. I'm going to select the audio, and you'll see here on the right, there's something called essential sound. Again, if you can't see essential sound whenever you're editing in Adobe Premiere Pro, just go to the window at the top, the word window in the top toolbar, and choose essential sound, and this will pop up on your right. This AI feature enhances speech, and I really like this feature so much, in fact, that I've been using it for my podcast as well. There are things that aren't perfect about it. For example, with some speakers that I'm interviewing, it might lower the volume of their voice and then make it higher, so they're fading in and out a little bit too much, in which case we need to go to something like Adobe Audition and fix that sound the other way. But in Adobe Premiere Pro, you have it built in here. One of the first things that I do whenever I'm editing is I'm going to right-click on here. Can you see that window that I just right-clicked in? So I right-click here, and I usually select this right here, which is Edit in Audition, Adobe Audition. I'm not going to do it now because you got to like switch a bunch of Zoom windows to show you, so I'm just going to describe what happens. Whenever I click that button, a waveform of whatever I'm editing is created automatically wherever that video that I'm editing was saved. And I can take that waveform. Not only can you create a transcript and have a live conversation with someone with this tool from Adobe Podcast, which is a fantastic studio that they're adding new features every day, but what I want to share with you for video editing is clicking on Enhance Speech. And what's really cool about this enhanced speech feature is it will enhance the speech outside of Adobe Premiere Pro if you have an older machine. So if you have an older machine, you want to open that in Adobe Audition so it creates that wave file, and then you can upload that sound wave file to Adobe Voice Enhance if you don't want to do it right there in Premiere Pro. And I have found that sometimes I get a little bit better results doing it online on the web compared to the built-in Adobe Premiere Pro feature that I just was sharing with you. And keep in mind, usually you'll be editing just the wave, not the video, because there's a size limit here on video files, and there's a size limit on wave and audio files or MP3s. In some cases, you're going to want to take your wave, if it's especially rich and a big file and it's over a gig, you're going to want to take your wave and translate it using something like Adobe Audition into an MP3 file so that this can work its magic if it's about the voice. Now, this is not for a clip that you've already added music to. This is why you want to do it early, especially for my friends who are doing interviews as a part of their video creation process, or anyone working with actor voices as a part of their video creation process. Okay, so this is a really useful tool because a lot of times people will click off your video and not listen to what you have to say if you haven't fixed the audio first. And I always recommend that people do this first in the editing process, just because it's much easier to edit if you've already processed your video the best way that you possibly can. The harder way to do this is to go into Adobe Audition and basically denoise and turn down the levels in Adobe Audition specifically. You can do that if this doesn't work, but I always tell people to try this first because this is one of those new tools from Adobe that is a part of our Adobe Creative Cloud process and our Adobe Creative Cloud license. So again, you can do the enhanced speech directly from the essential sound panel. So right over here on the right, you can do the same kind of thing. See where we have this slider here? We can slide that down to apply a different amount of enhanced speech. And you see here it says preparing. And again, if you have an older computer, I would really recommend just treating the audio first online with something like that Adobe Podcast or Adobe Voice Enhanced software. One of the other cool things about the Adobe Podcast Studio, if you want to interview someone and have a digital artifact there, is it has this software built into it as well. So I realize we're veering away from Adobe Premiere Pro, but I think this is really useful for people's workflows specifically, who want to improve their sound before they start working in Adobe Premiere Pro. The next thing that I want to show you is this right here is super useful for those of you working in social media. It says auto reframe sequence. So instead of going to another AI program that might do this for you that you have to pay for, Adobe Premiere Pro will do it for you for free because you're, again, Adobe Creative Cloud subscriber through your UTSA affiliation. Can you see that button that says auto reframe? When I click that, it's going to take it and it's going to make it into a 16:9, a 9:16, or a square. So if you look at this drop down, you can do a vertical 4:5, a vertical 9:16, a horizontal 16:9. And what it's going to do is it's going to automatically show the speaker in the middle of the frame. And it does auto tracking too. So if you have an actor in your NASA scene that is moving, it's going to auto track that person so that they are center frame, or auto track the action so that they're center frame. So right now, the video that you're watching of me is landscape 16:9. If I wanted to take this recording and I wanted to make it vertical for social media, this is how I can do that. And it's a really useful feature for, again, editing things. It's going to automatically motion track. You can do slower, you can do faster right here, but it's going to automatically motion track, and it's going to center the frame on the motion. So if you have an action clip, instead of centering the person who is talking, it would center on that action. Lumetri color in the top window, just like we did for all the other features. Find the window that says Lumetri color. It starts with an L, not a C for color. And there's this color correction that is auto right here. So if I select my scene, I can click this button right here and it will auto color correct, which is a skill that takes a lot of skill and time to learn.